Bar here. Today we're going to be talking about tank hunters and helicopters and the officers I recommend for them and all possible pairings with them. What is the best possible setup there? There is tons of setups for helicopters and tanks in general. So we're going to dive into the nitty gritty and figure out which one's best. But first, we want to give a shout out to Captain Zangzetsu, also Harley Quinn, and a few other members in my alliance that were trying to actually get their faces put into the video, and that would be Toot, Pier, Pidge, Kevin Wallabilly. You guys are awesome. It was a good prank. And also, there's a few other people who I might not have seen, but they were there in the last video, and I missed them. So, right on to the nitty gritty. As you can see right now on my helicopter, I have Guardian Truth and Valkyrie. That's one pair, but we're going to start all the way back to Legacy Officers when you first load into the game. So, when you first load into the game, there is, if you are a spender and you invest in your VIP level and you get up to, I believe it's VIP 8, maybe 9, you will be able to fully awaken Guardian of Truth. And he is one of the better officers to be used with a tank hunter in the beginning of the game because he gives pen damage, he gives additional firepower, he has damage resist, an amazing um, tactical skill, which actually brings that up to roughly 1500 damage coefficient, and he also gives an additional 10% damage resist, and he carries his weight all the way through to 300 days. So as we're going to break this down, I would recommend Guardian of Truth as an S tier officer with a helicopter. Now, I would pair him in the beginning with Death Adder. Death Adder's skills heavily support Guardian of Truth skills. He may be lacking in damage coefficient with his tactical skill, but once he is awakened, his damage resist buff of 20% is huge, and that stacks with the 25% you're going to gain from Guardian of Truth when you're in combat. Your troop automatically gains an additional 15% damage. It has an HP buff and a firepower buff. And he's the only other officer in the game that does a pen damage buff, which the only other officer would be Guardian of Truth that does that. But when he is awakened, his awakened skill deals damage to enemy, damage coefficient of 1050, and inflicts sundered armor, reducing the target's damage resist by 10% for 4 seconds. This skill also increases the damage resist of the officer's troop by 20% for 4 seconds and increases its speed by 5%. That is a huge deal with tank hunters because tank hunters are not really popular in the game in the beginning of the first 182 days. Actually, I would not recommend you build it until you're right about on the cusp of having your first 7.2 unit. And the reason for that is because when you hit 182 days, you can build modern units. And right about 182 days, you should be able to have at least one 7.2 unit per camp. And what I recommend per camp, like I've said before in the past, is 2 ground troops, 1 Air Force unit. And I prefer that your Air Force unit would be a fighter. But with this in mind, Death Adder in the beginning would be actually a tier A, and he would stay as A tier all the way through to all the way through to 300 at 300 days at A tier. And the reason why is because some of his skills are actually incredibly rare, which is good for the skill tab system. There's only so many officers in the game that actually increase troop damage and not a specific troop type. So that means this is a versatile skill that can go on any unit, and this would be highly valuable. Balance skill, there's only about 4 balance skills in the entire game, which is on Winter Huntsman, um, Death Adder, Vox, and I believe Professor Payne. Pen damage. The pen damage, like I said, only one other officer has this ability, and that is Guardian of Truth. Now, the next pairing I would recommend in their rankings is actually Guardian of Truth and Tiger Marauder. Behind, if you want an absolute juggernaut worth of damage, and you're not really worried about trying to do penetration on your, about penning your opponent and kind of doing that little crit strike, I would recommend Tiger Marauder. And the reason why Tiger Marauder is because he gives additional damage boost. He boosts up the firepower of your unit. He gives a passive heal. And when he's awakened, he actually does a higher damage coefficient with his awakened skill, with his tactical skill, which is his awakened skill, which is 1600 damage. In the beginning, this is going to be a very big powerhouse, but he will fall, and he would be S tier before 182 days, but he will fall off and in the A tier because his skills are still valuable, because not many officers actually carry damage resist. Again, back to another pairing. If you have him, I would recommend Spanner with Guardian of Truth. Spanner is an S tier officer all the way through. He'll never let you down. You put him with a offensive officer and where he's so defensive, he will keep your troop alive for a long period of time in field fighting, taking bases. It doesn't matter what. But we're gonna go keep this going along. War Machine S tier, very powerful officer. He is completely offensive, and his skills are super useful throughout the game, all the way up to 300 days. So he's S class all the way through, and I would recommend him in a pairing with Guardian of Truth or Death Adder, or even with Spanner. Or if you want, you could even put him with Tip of Spear, and with Tip of Spear being the leader, because his tactical skill will keep firing off very quickly. Now, the next officer I would recommend for this unit would actually be Bloody Mary with Winter Huntsman. These two together are a good combo because a helicopter and a tank hunter are kind of like a light. You can't brawl with a tank hunter. If you're going to try brawling with a tank hunter, you're going to lose 9 out of 10 times. But if you're doing hit and run tactics and you're doing devastating damage real quick, then this would be the pairing, because Winter Huntsman's tactical skill, when awakened, actually freezes the target so they can't move, and he has good damage coefficient. And Bloody Mary, she stops the skill prep time and the firing when awakened on an officer. She also increases damage to the officer's troop. She also increases speed and has a passive heal. While Winter Huntsman, he increases damage resist, has the balance skill, and also gives a passive heal. And now you can also mix and match these officers together, and these would still be a pretty effective pairing. But I like to synchronize my officer skills together, so that way they will do the most damage on the battlefield. I heavily persist on use as a field fighter using offensive officers only instead of defensive, because I like to micromanage my units. Now, when you hit 182 days, the very best pairing, I think, even at 300 days, will be Valkyrie and Golden Eagle. Both of these officers are S tier. They offer way too much to bring to the table. Like Golden Eagle, his fourth skill gives you 10% base damage resist, and he does additional damage towards tanks and helicopters. He gives them a critical chance. Very powerful, very potent. I would highly recommend him with Valkyrie. Valkyrie is the other officer where her passive skill is actually very similar to Death Adder's Awakened. So Valkyrie and Death Adder can actually go hand in hand, and it would be very potent. But I would recommend Death Adder as the lead officer, because his will automatically trigger Sundered Armor, and then Valkyrie's Awaken skill will increase a damage coefficient of 200 because now the target's already sundered. So now you're going to be getting a huge damage boost. Yeah, she's three. Yeah, she's 300 days. Okay. Yeah, all the rest of these are 300 days. Sorry, I lost a little bit of track there. So we're going to go on to 300-day officer pairings. Now, I'm going to talk about Lady J. Lady J is an absolute beast. She's good on any tank, and the fact that she has the highest damage resist in the game next to Argent Flame, which is 20%, her skill cannot be ignored. That she is very powerful, and the fact that she stops her opponent's speed, well, not stops, but slows the opponent's speed for 6 seconds by 50%, and increases your troop damage and your speed by 15%. It's a very strong pairing on a tank hunter and a helicopter, and this would be a blessing on a Vanguard or a Marauder helicopter, or even a Liberty, because this is going to help go so far. Again, I would recommend her with either Guardian of Truth, Lady Liberty. I mean, not Lady Liberty. Um, Valkyrie, Golden Eagle, Spanner. I would recommend her with almost any of the officers I've listed because she's so good and she's so versatile. So we're gonna keep going down. We're gonna go to the next 300-day tank officer that I would recommend. I would recommend Whipcracker. Whipcracker gives you a 10% retrain time, and she's like the female equivalent of Guardian of Truth minus the pen damage, but she has that retrain time, and that retrain time is absolutely a lifesaver on a helicopter unit or a tank hunter unit because tank hunters don't have that speed up on retrain time like the Liberty MBT or the Vanguard MBT or even infantry that retrains very quickly. So she does a very good amount of damage and she can be cross paired across any of these officers and they'll be very effective. And by the way, Lady J is an A tier officer, could go S tier. Whipcracker is an S tier because I think she's very misunderstood and very potent. Thorn Countess is a very defensive officer, so I don't want to recommend her. Um, she would be A tier for a helicopter or a tank hunter, but I wouldn't recommend her. And so same with Steel Fighter. I wouldn't recommend Steel Fighter on a helicopter. The reason why, yes, the shield is nice, but I'd rather have the extra damage being pumped out than a shield because I need to be able to kill my opponents quickly. Because where most alliances and L4 events you will utilize a rally, you can very quickly be overwhelmed. So you want to be able to quickly take down your target, retreat, come back. Now, this is an exclusive lounge officer. I do not. If you're free to play, this is going to be very hard for you to acquire right off the bat. But if you're a spender, Professor Payne will go great with Valkyrie, Golden Eagle, or any of the officers I mentioned. But I think he would be best paired with either Whipcracker or Guardian of Truth. And I would lean towards Whipcracker because she gives a 500 shield every time she engages combat, and she gives an additional damage resist. So her total damage resist is 25%. When his damage resist is reduced by 10, now you got a decent regain of 15% damage resist, and that should combo with him very well. So, and also all exclusive officers, I'm going to say this now because they're all potent and they're all very good. They're all S tier. So, if you liked this video and you thought this video was helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, we have a Discord, and you're welcome to join the community. We have a wide range of servers in the community to hang out, meet some people, make some new friends, study together, learn the game. I'm always there. There's no paywall for you to talk to me. You can just come in, talk, No big deal. So, yeah, I hope to see you guys in the Discord. I'm Fubar, and I got your six. Have a great day. Peace.